Tom, aka Gedeon, here for Star Frontiers Gamer. And today we are looking at the mystery of the missing Star Frontiers minis. Now, so this video is for you Star Frontiers gamers who have collected the minis. If you are not a mini collector, it's probably not for you. It's okay for you to check out. But there are some missing Star Frontiers minis, and I think I have solved the mystery of what happened to them, where they ended up, and why that happened. So some years ago, between 2010 and 2014, I discovered a the website's called American Science and Surplus. I'll show you the website in a minute, but let's go to the video. Now, I found these miniatures at this American Science and Surplus website. You know, it's a catalog. They buy stuff up, have it in their warehouse, they put it in their catalog and sell it off. So they buy it real cheap, and because they bought it cheap, they're willing to sell it cheap. That's the charm of this particular company. What I didn't realize at the time was I found these miniatures and I thought, man, that looks like a Sathar Fighter. And because I've looked, at manufacturers of miniatures and looked for something to be a stand-in for the Sathar Fighter in my games. And I tried Ground Zero Games. They have a lot of miniatures, so I had bought those miniatures, and then I just selected some random miniature from them that would be my Sathar Fighters for gaming. But when I saw these, I thought, oh, gotta have them, must add them to my collection. And because look at that, that's there's not a lot of detail. It's a plastic piece from a board game. So let's go look at this is the American Science and Surplus Company. And so they have Buck Rogers playing pieces from a Buck Rogers board game. In fact, right down here, we have pieces from a Buck Rogers game called, we are told, Buck Rogers Battle for the 25th Century. So when I first discovered them, they had a lot of miniatures. Now they are only showing 3, and they only actually have 2 listings. They've removed the UPF Fighter here from their listing, so they must have sold out. And this is what they have left: this shuttle, which I thought was stupid looking, so I never bought any. On the gun pod, which I almost bought way back, 8 years ago, I guess. I almost bought the gun pod, and I kind of wish I had. I mean, look at this. If you could use this as a robot in Star Frontiers, it would be the appropriate size against 28 millimeter miniatures. In fact, you could also slice this gun off of the top here, and just because it's a sphere, some sort of mechanical sphere, it could be a level 1 robot with alternate movement mode of hover. That looks like a hover skirt down there. So I like these. I like these a lot. I might actually have to go back on there and purchase a package. Now, the one thing I did do, I made a mistake when I first bought these, was you look here, for the gun pods, they're 14 per bag. They're actually one of the bigger pieces that they had, and then 10 bags per package, and a package was $350. So it's a great buy. You're getting 100 for $350. You're getting 140 of these things. The spaceships are actually 24 per bag and 10 bags per package for $350. Now I misunderstood that, and I'm like, oh, I better buy several packages. I actually bought about 2,000 of these things at the time, and then was like, oh my God, I have so many. I can never use these. And I was giving them away. I was like, hey, give me your address. I'll hook you up with Sathar fighters. You'll love these. And so I was actually sending them out to my friends, because I didn't pay a lot of money for them. So it was just cool. I was just like, I'll, I gave a ton away. Um, and now I'm at that point where I'm like, uh, I would have only reserved for myself about 24 to 48 each of the UPF fighter and the Sathar fighter. But now I'm like, no, no, I'm glad we still got some on hand because I think I want 100 uh, each for a massive convention game. I have delusions of grandeur that I might one day bring to a convention. So, yeah, American Science. So they're no longer available here, sadly, but um, we can now confirm that it is the Buck Rogers Battle for the 25th Century board game. What does that look like? This would be the cover. And this is what a collection of the miniatures look like. This is a photo I lifted off of eBay. Somebody is selling an allotment of the miniatures. So they don't have the board game, but they have the miniatures. I think they purchased them from American Science there. And so this is a selection, and they only had them in the 3 colors, whereas they come in like about 6 different colors from that company. In fact, if we go back to my video, you see all the different colors in a bag. See all these different colors? These are, all the playing pieces. So you can have the multiple factions in the board game. Now, what you're seeing here is I have based some of these on wooden dowels, and the wooden dowels will go into one of these 2-inch hexagon bases. And so you see these Ground Zero Games fighters that I based up as these were my Sathar back in the day. Based them up, and I fly them in squadrons of 6. And as fighters die, get destroyed, I pull the peg, and the squadron keeps on flying. And so the goal here was to do these up on a 2-inch base, since I have 2-inch bases for all my Star Frontiers miniatures, and just pull them. I've been debating how we're going to do that. These miniatures are clearly bigger and are going to crowd that base a little bit, but I don't know if it'll be a problem. I can either do 4 in a base and have them as instead of squadrons, we'll call them wings of 4, maybe move a double wing together on the wargaming table. Or I might try to just go ahead and do up 6 in a base and crowd them in there. And because they've worked well when I've flown squadrons of 6, it works well that way. When all 6 fighters are blasting away at something, it knows it got kissed. Now they're fragile; these things die fast, and they have limited ammunition. But when you fly them in squadrons of 6, it really works well on your wargaming table. I can confirm that. Now, the interesting thing about the Buck Rogers game is that it used these 2 fighters that were quote unquote inspired by Star Frontiers. But this here, and I'll just enlarge it. This is a vintage ad. This is this photo is a vintage ad from back in the day. And look, so you see the little shuttle here that I thought was stupid looking, so I didn't buy it. And then you see this thing here over in the bottom corner. Look at that. That is a Star Frontiers privateer. And I know for certain it's a Star Frontiers privateer. It comes from this box set. Now, the artwork, the fuselage looks a little short compared to what we just saw. So let's look at the actual miniature. And right here, you can see how long that fuselage is in the actual miniature. So this miniature was pulled into that game and used. So my theory now is, since they were already stealing one Star Frontiers miniature, the master, and then using it to produce molds for plastic miniatures, that they also had masters that had been sculpted up for these two ships. This here is the cover. So this is the artwork. Um, it's just a recycling of this artwork. This is page 54 of the Nighthawks manual. And so this is the mock-up cover for the Star Frontiers battle system, which was scheduled to be published in 1985. But since Star Frontiers got canceled in 1984, this never got published. So, kind of nice to see that artwork colorized a little bit. I like it. So my theory is that the masters for these miniatures existed. That this game potentially, you had Nighthawks, which focused on fleet actions. It was very big. You were very much the commanding admiral in command looking down on a fleet action. This is a different level. This is more, I think this is coming down to skirmish level of fighters and small ships against each other. So this is very much, I don't know, unless we track down whoever was designing this and interview them. But I suspect this would have been more of a skirmish level type of war game. And it seems to be that they were promoting it as a war game. So I believe the masters of the sculpts for these miniatures existed, and at the same time that they were stealing that privateer that we saw in the vintage ad, they went ahead and grabbed these masters that had never been produced. Those miniatures had never been put in production, never been released. The game got canceled. They probably would have been produced if the game had gone on. We would have seen these miniatures, but we would have had legitimate Sathar fighters for our wargaming table. But having real, honest to goodness, Sathar looking fighters would have been the bomb. And, now that we've found them and we know they exist, now they can be added to our games. So my theory is that the masters, the sculpts for the masters did exist, and they just never got released. They never got published. And they never saw the light of day as a Star Frontiers fighter, but they were a Star Frontiers fighter. They just got pulled into the Buck Rogers game. And what company doesn't want to save money? You have these masters that you paid money to a sculptor to prepare. You have this other privateer that you obviously liked and grabbed and used. So what company doesn't like to save money? They grabbed 3 miniatures from Star Frontiers and pulled them into the Buck Rogers game. I'm okay with that because now I'm going to grab these miniatures from the Buck Rogers game and pull them back into Star Frontiers and use them on my wargaming table. So that's my theory, is that they always existed. They just never got published. There are missing miniatures out there. They existed, and they can be located and they can be added to your Star Frontiers game. If you're a miniatures collector, if you like playing Nighthawks, they exist. They're out there and they can be located. And hopefully, somebody will make a nice copy, of these fighters and maybe throw some 3D sculpts up on Thingiverse or one of the other, places that so that those of us who have a 3D printer can download the 3D file and print up some fighters. I mean, I overbought and I'm loaded with fighters, so I won't be doing that. But it would be nice. I would be like excited to see that it had been done, and that anyone who was an avid miniature war gamer could purchase those Sathar Fighter and have them for their game. That would be, to me, that'd be a cool thing to see happen for the Frontier. Certainly something we'd probably report on in the fan magazine as well. So this is Tom for Star Frontiers Gamer. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it until somebody proves me wrong. And I want to thank you for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. and I'll see you in the frontier. I'll probably be flying a Star Frontiers fighter.